The first time you walk into a casino, you are 26 years old, and you are there for a bachelor party, and you have no idea what you're looking at. What you're looking at is a system. A very old, very refined system designed by people who understood human psychology decades before that phrase existed. The lights are calibrated. The sounds are calibrated. The absence of clocks and windows is not an accident. The layout that makes it difficult to find the exit is not an accident. None of it is an accident. You don't know any of this yet. You know that the roulette table looks interesting, and that your friend just won $200 on a slot machine, and that the cocktail waitress brought you a free drink without you asking. You put $40 on red. It lands red, you let it ride, it lands red again. You walk out of the casino with $320 you didn't have when you walked in, and a feeling you have no name for yet. Level 1, the occasional. You go back twice in the next year. Once with a different group of friends, once alone, which you don't mention to anyone. The second solo trip, you tell yourself, is just curiosity. You wanted to see if the first time was luck. It was partly luck and partly skill, you decide, because you've been reading about blackjack strategy and you understand now that there are better and worse ways to play. The house has an edge, but the edge is small on blackjack if you play correctly, and you've been practicing on an app for 3 weeks. You win $80 the second time. You lose $240 the third. You drive home from the third trip and do the math in your head and realize you're net positive across all 3 visits, and that feels important. You are a person who is net positive at the casino. That's just a fact about you now. You go 4 times in the second year, then 6. The amounts start to creep, not dramatically, from $40 sessions to $100 sessions to $300 sessions. You can afford $300. You have a good job. You pay your bills. The casino is entertainment. You've spent more than $300 on concert tickets, and nobody asks you to justify concert tickets. Marcus is your closest friend from college. He knows you go to the casino occasionally, and he thinks it's mildly funny, the way a harmless quirk is funny. He came with you once, lost $60, decided it wasn't for him. He doesn't understand the appeal, and you've stopped trying to explain it because the explanation sounds thin when you say it out loud. The appeal is the feeling. You know that. You've known it since the first night with the bachelor party, and the roulette table, and the free drink. It's not about the money exactly. It's about the 45 seconds between the bet and the outcome. Everything else in your life resolves slowly. Problems at work resolve over weeks. Relationships resolve over months. But at the blackjack table, you make a decision and you find out immediately if it was right. The feedback loop is immediate and total. You are, for those 45 seconds, entirely present in a way you almost never are anywhere else. You don't think of this as a warning sign. You think of it as a preference. Level 2, the regular. By year 3, you have a card. The rewards card that the casino gives you for signing up. The one that tracks your play and comps you meals and hotel rooms when you've lost enough to earn them. You didn't think about what it meant to earn comps when you signed up. You understand now. You earn comps by losing. The casino is giving you a free steak dinner because you've given them enough money to make the steak dinner a reasonable business expense. You use the comps anyway. You tell yourself it's rational. You're going to the casino regardless, so you might as well extract value from the losses you're going to take. This is the logic of someone who has already decided they're going to lose. Your sessions are longer now. What used to be 2 hours is 3 hours is 5 hours. You've learned to read the table. You know which dealers are hot and which are cold, which you understand intellectually is superstition and believe emotionally anyway. You have rituals. The way you stack your chips, the way you tap the table before a hit. Rituals are another warning sign you're not reading as a warning sign. You've started tracking your wins and losses in a spreadsheet. This feels like responsibility. The spreadsheet shows you're down $4,000 over 2 years, which is $2,000 a year, which is less than you spend on your car payment, which is how you've decided to frame it. What the spreadsheet actually shows is a line that points in one direction. You look at the number and think about the nights you were up, not the trend. You've also started borrowing from next month, not from other people. from yourself. Moving money from savings to checking before a casino trip, telling yourself you'll replace it. You replace it 3 times. The 4th time, there's nothing to replace it with and you don't tell anyone. Level 3, the shift. The shift is not a moment. It's a recalibration so gradual you don't notice it until the calibration is complete. What shifts is the purpose. You went to the casino to feel the thing you felt at the roulette table at 26. The presence, the immediate feedback. At some point, without a date you can point to, the purpose changed. Now you go to the casino to chase losses. Now you go because you're down and you need to get back to even. And you can feel getting back to even from where you're sitting as clearly as you can feel a destination when you're driving. It's right there. It's achievable. You just need one good session. You've had the one good session, more than once. You've sat at a blackjack table down $3,000 and left up $400, and the feeling of that, the specific physics of the turnaround, is the most potent thing you've ever experienced. The problem is that every time you do it, the required turnaround grows. You need a bigger comeback to feel the same thing. You need to be further down to make the comeback worth having. Your girlfriend notices you're different on the nights before a planned casino trip. Shorter, distracted. She's noticed the money too, though she doesn't know the numbers. She asks questions you answer partially. You've become expert at partial answers. You say you had a rough night, which is true. You say you've been going less, which is not. You call in sick to work one Thursday and spend the day at the casino. You've never done that before. You tell yourself it's a one-time thing while you're doing it, and for 3 weeks after, until you do it again. Marcus asks you directly one night. You've had a few drinks, and he's noticed the thing people notice when something is off, and they know you well enough to say so. He asks if you're okay. He asks if the casino thing has gotten bigger than you were letting on. You tell him you've had a rough couple of months financially, and you're managing it. He looks at you for a long time before he nods. He doesn't push. That's the thing about Marcus. He gives you the room you ask for, even when giving you room isn't what you need. Level 4, the architecture. By the time you understand what's happened, you've built a life around it. Not consciously, nobody does this consciously. But your schedule has reorganized itself to accommodate the casino the way a river reorganizes landscape. Slowly, without announcing itself, until one day the landscape looks like it was always this way. You know the hours of every table game. You know the shift changes, when the looser dealers come on, when the floor managers rotate. You know which nights the high roller room is accessible, and which nights it's private events. You've driven 40 minutes to a different casino because your primary casino had flagged your play for the wrong reasons, and you needed distance from that. You've taken out a personal loan, $20,000 described to the bank as home improvement. You've used $11,000 of it at the casino. You've won back 3 of those 11. You've spent the rest of the loan on the things the casino money was supposed to cover. Rent, utilities, the car payment you missed while the checking account was empty. Your girlfriend moved out 2 months ago. The conversation was specific and honest in a way that conversations about money and trust usually aren't. She knew the number by then. Not the exact number, but the shape of the number. She said she couldn't keep watching you disappear into something you wouldn't let her see. You told her she was overreacting. You knew she wasn't overreacting. You were saying the words you say when you're not ready to stop. You don't sleep the night after she leaves. You go to the casino at 2 in the morning. You lose $600 in 90 minutes. You drive home and sit in the parking lot of your apartment building and think, for the first time, with the specific clarity that comes from exhaustion and loss, that you have a problem, not a rough patch, not a streak. A problem with a shape and a history and a direction. You think this for about 40 minutes. Then you go upstairs and open your laptop and check the casino's upcoming promotions. Level 5, the floor. The eviction notice arrives on a Wednesday. 30 days. You've missed 3 months of rent. You knew it was coming, and knowing it was coming didn't change anything because knowing things was never the part you had a problem with. You spend a week trying to find a solution that doesn't involve telling anyone the truth. You call your parents and describe a cash flow problem that's temporary, which they believe because you've been describing temporary problems for 2 years, and the problems always seem to resolve. This one doesn't resolve. You call 2 friends about subletting possibilities. Neither works out. You spend $400 you don't have at the casino on the Thursday before your final week. Not because you think it's going to fix anything, but because you don't know what else to do with a Thursday. Marcus finds out on a Sunday. Not because you tell him. Because he runs into your landlord, who knows Marcus is your emergency contact from 2 years ago when you filled out a lease renewal and put his name down without thinking about what that meant. The landlord tells him you're being evicted. Marcus calls you. You let it go to voicemail. He calls again. You pick up. The conversation is short. He asks where you're staying after the 30th. You tell him you're working on it. He says you can take his couch. You tell him you don't need his couch. He says the offer is there. You tell him you'll figure something out. You don't figure something out. You show up at Marcus's apartment on the evening of the 30th with 2 bags and your laptop. He opens the door and doesn't say anything about it being the 30th. He just opens the door wider and steps aside and shows you where the extra blankets are. You sleep on his couch for 6 weeks. 6 weeks is long enough to see what you've built and what it cost. The couch is a fold-out, not uncomfortable, but you wake up every morning in Marcus's living room surrounded by the furniture and the books and the photographs of someone who has been managing his life while you've been chasing yours. He doesn't make you feel this. It's just the furniture. It's just what's true. He drives you to your first meeting. He waits in the car. When you come out, he asks how it was, and you say weird, and he says that makes sense, and you drive back in silence that isn't uncomfortable. He does this 3 times before you can get there on your own. You get a smaller apartment 8 weeks later. 1 bedroom, farther from work, $200 less per month. You carry your bags from Marcus's couch to a car he lent you for the day because your car was repossessed 6 months ago, which you told no one, which is the kind of thing you stop being able to track when you're in it. The morning you leave his apartment, he makes coffee and you sit at his kitchen table and he asks if you're okay. You tell him you're working on it. He nods. He doesn't tell you you'll be fine. He doesn't tell you it gets easier. He just nods. The way someone nods when they believe you and they know that's enough for now. You pay him back over 2 years. Not just the money from one conversation. Everything. The actual number, which you write down once and don't look at again because the number isn't the point anymore. You pass the casino on the highway sometimes. You always know exactly where it is. You probably always will. What you think about when you pass it now isn't the tables or the comps or the 45 seconds. You think about the fold-out couch and the extra blankets and a door that opened without a question. That's what it cost. Not just the money, the door, and the fact that it opened